In an interview in May 2018, then First Minister Carwyn Jones explained that men need to understand feminism to tackle inequality.
Nobody argues in favour of gender inequality, but we have to make sure that actually we see the gap that we have in terms of pay reduced, that we make it easier, for example, for women to return to the workplace, perhaps after they've been caring for an older relative or for a child. All these things have to come together and work together to make sure that we deliver the best offer possible. Now, Sweden has done this. It's declared itself to be the world's first feminist government. Now, we don't want to copy other countries. We want to learn from them and then, of course, go beyond that.
Women's charity Chwarae Teg and the Wales Centre for Public Policy were commissioned to review the Welsh Government's gender equality policies, and their Phase 1 report was produced in June 2018. The authors were Natasha Davis, Cerys Furlong, then CEO of Chwarae Teg, and Hannah Worf. The authors acknowledged the work of Cardiff University academic Alison Parken. The Wales Centre for Public Policy tweeted, "The Centre's Dr. Alison Parken has been working on the Welsh Government Gender Equality Rapid Review with Chwarae Teg. Today, our contribution to Phase 1 has been published." Parken's interests include feminist theory and equality, diversity and inclusion theories. In 2014, an article of hers was published in The Guardian. The article was titled, "Why Wales's Traditional Gender Roles Hold Women Back. If we want to beat the widening pay gap, we need to ensure women have access to careers traditionally dominated by men." Parken wrote, "Among the starkest examples of gender segregation we uncovered was within the skilled trades, where 91% of jobs were held by men. Of the 54 occupations under this heading, only 7 were gender balanced, and only 3, tailoring, dressmaking and floral arranging, were female dominated. By contrast, women constitute only 1% of skilled construction workers. Without doubt, gender pay gaps will not be closed until occupational segregation is addressed. We need to challenge the status quo on work and pay if we are to break out of the tight constraints of gendered jobs and working patterns." Parken believes that social forces deter women from entering traditionally male-dominated professions.
Over 90% of chemists, physicists, geologists, mechanical engineers, civil engineers, electrical engineers in Wales are men. So there's a long way to go. That's extreme segregation. So I'm not sure that things are changing fast enough.
The Chwarae Teg report stated, "Culture change. Most stakeholders were in agreement that in order to become a world leader in gender equality, ultimately we need to see a shift in culture and attitude. There was agreement that driving culture change is difficult and a long-term goal, but also that education is a central component to it. There was support for more work to educate the educators on equality, to increase the amount of positive role models, to promote male champions of gender equality, and to see high-quality sex and relationships education in all schools." The report also stated that an intersectional approach was needed. There is greater potential to advance equality if policies and initiatives advance the position of trans women. Dr. Alison Parken also contributed to the review. In the Annex International Policy and Practice report, she wrote, "Latterly, postmodernist feminism, queer and trans theories have argued that on the way to creating a level playing field, the gender binary should be challenged, disrupted, and the fluidity of gender identities recognized." She references Judith Butler from 1990. First Minister Carwyn Jones said, "Chwarae Teg's report shines a light on the things we need to improve and challenges us to do better. It also presents exciting opportunities for change, and I am proud to say that my cabinet has signed up to the report and has committed to integrating gender equality into policy and decision making. Change needs to happen if Wales is going to become a world leader in women's rights and gender equality. As the report says, we already have world-leading legislation in place and some progress has been made, But we must be more ambitious if we want to become a feminist government and improve the lives of women and girls. In September 2018, Parken delivered a presentation at the University of Bath. The presentation was titled, "A Feminist Government, Another Opportunity to Mainstream Equality in Wales." Parken described some recent policy innovations in Wales.
And a really interesting report on the future of sex and relationships in Wales, so that it is now mandatory to have sex and relationships guidance in Wales, but it's no longer really referred to as sex and relationships, it's sexuality in relationships, and the emphasis actually on relationships. And this is going to be groundbreaking in terms of these discussions that we've talked about today around gender stereotyping in the classroom, and it will be embedded in the new curriculum, from the Donaldson Review, which starts from this September, I think.
In November 2018, the Wales Centre for Public Policy hosted an event to discuss gender equality, feminist government and intersectionality in Wales today, as part of their work towards the Welsh Government's Gender Equality Review. Professor Emma Renold presented her research. In December 2018, Susanna Nessum from the Wales Centre for Public Policy posted an article titled 5 Things You Should Know About Gender Equality in Wales. The Wales Centre for Public Policy is currently contributing to the Welsh Government's Gender Equality Review announced by the First Minister earlier this year, with the aim of making Wales a world leader in gender equality. Following our report in the summer on international policy and practice, we recently held a seminar for members of the Review's advisory group and steering group to help inform their decisions on what is meant by gender equality. Professor Emma Renold, Emma Taylor-Collins, Dr. Rachel Minto and Dr. Alison Parken introduced the concepts of gender, intersectionality and a feminist government and led a discussion on what these could mean in a Welsh context. One of the 5 things you should know about gender equality in Wales is gender equality is not equal to gender equity. Although these are related concepts and sound similar, gender equality and gender equity have different meanings and different usages. Gender equality means that people enjoy the same social, economic and political rights, resources, opportunities and protections regardless of their gender. Gender equity means fairness of treatment for each gender according to their respective needs. Another is gender is how sex bodies are lived, represented and regulated. Gender is often misunderstood and sometimes confused or limited to related concepts such as sex, gender identity or gender expression. The Welsh Government has chosen to define gender as how sex bodies are lived, represented and regulated. Gender is therefore a broad concept, encompassing gender as identity and as expression. The Welsh Government had changed the definition of the word gender to a definition derived from queer theory. As Professor Emma Renold writes in her 2005 book, Girls, Boys and Junior Sexualities, Exploring Children's Gender and Sexual Relations in the Primary School, queer theory is linked to forms of politics which deliberately seek to break down the fixed boundaries between the hetero-homo, gender and other binaries, to multiply sexual categories and ultimately dissolve them. And queering childhood involves not just the queering of sexual binary oppositions such as male and female and heterosexual homosexual, but also the generational binaries, adult child and sexual asexual. In June 2019, Chwarae Teg produced a second report, Review of Gender Equality in Wales Phase 2. Again, the report acknowledged the help of Alison Parken. The report contained a key definition section that redefines the word gender. Gender. By gender, we mean both identity and the way in which gender shapes society in day-to-day life. While it can include sex, it is not synonymous with sex and does not only refer to gender identity or gender expression. Gender also shapes the organisation of our society, the economy and power relationships, as ideas about what is considered appropriate for men and women are carried through social, legal, cultural and economic policy practices and processes. These processes reproduce inequality by ascribing differently valued attributes, behaviours and roles to men, women and non-binary people. In the Vision and Leadership section of the report, it states, Welsh ministers have adopted a radical vision for gender equality that is built on redistributive intent and equality of outcome. Not everyone believes equality of outcome is a goal that should be pursued.
J.S. Mill was sitting here instead of me. Would you be seeing eye to eye on whether that was a good idea?
Well, again, I think it depends on what you mean by feminism. I mean, the idea that it would be a good thing for the world to arrange itself so that the talents of women were as available to use by the collective, let's say, by the group or by society as the talents of men, then obviously that's all for the good. I don't have any problem with that whatsoever, because talent's in short supply, and it's a foolish society that wastes it no matter where it manifests itself. Racial divisions or ethnic divisions or any of that, equality of opportunity, I can't see how you can be a sensible person and not
Do you think do women have opportunity? Do women have equality of opportunity then broadly across Western societies?
Compared to what?
Compared to not having equality of opportunity.
Well, compared to 100 years ago, yes. Compared to 50 years ago, yes. Compared to most places in the world throughout history, yes. Compared to a hypothetical ideal, no. Would that
hypothetical ideal be a good ideal or a bad ideal?
Well, it depends on how you define equality. If you define it as equality of outcome, then it's a catastrophic ideal. See, this is something too. You know, one of the things I've been struggling with recently is the idea of boundaries, let's say. We know absolutely, and this is relevant to your questions on progressivism, we know that the left can go too far, and we know that the right can go too far. I mean, I would say that's the abject lesson of the 20th century. Both can go too far. And we kind of know when the right goes too far. We probably think the right goes too far, if you had to boil it down to one thing, when people start making claims of racial or ethnic superiority. That seems to be the marker. But we don't know when the left goes too far. And the left, to be frank about it, isn't very careful about differentiating itself into those who are pursuing a reasonable progressive agenda and those who have seriously gone too far. And I would say that when people push an equality of outcome agenda, they've gone too far. Even though it's not as blatantly horrifying, let's say, as claims of ethnic or racial superiority, the consequences of playing that idea out in the world are seriously not good.
Equality of outcome requires social engineering. In November 2020, Chwarae Teg tweeted, "Do you identify as a girl or young woman between 18 to 25 and living in North Wales? Click here for more info." Not everyone was happy about the tweet. CEO of Chwarae Teg, Cerys Furlong, responded, "Nice try, haters. Chwarae Teg has always been clear in our support for trans rights. Trans women are women." Her tweet received positive comments from Lisa Power and Lisa Cordray-Bruce of the Welsh Government LGBTQ+ expert panel, Derek Walker, the current Future Generations Commissioner for Wales, Alicia Zalasinka from Tai Pawb, and sports presenter Beth Fisher. The Welsh Government have created a culture where anyone who pushes back against this redefinition of words is labelled a far-right bigot.
All the people, all the white people, and they all get slandered and branded as being on the far right. Far right, far right, far right. It's got nothing to do with supporting free speech, you know. Or mocking fallacious feminist arguments that go round and round and round. All the people, all the white people, and they all get slandered and branded as being on the far right. All the people, all the white people, and they all get slandered and branded as being on the far right.
In her 2005 book, Girls, Boys and Junior Sexualities, Exploring Children's Gender and Sexual Relations in the Primary School, where Professor Renold writes of her goal of queering childhood, she also gives a mention to Alison Parken. Special thank you to Alison Parken for offering and then making the time to proofread the book. Her catalogue of comments and questions in the margins made the final editing more bearable. The Welsh Government are pushing for children's childhoods to be queered.